you? Not paying attention. How you doing, Kathy? Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Coming back from the store today, oh, as a matter of fact, it took a good hour before my goddamn nerves calmed down. Man, I'll tell you, people are assholes. You doing good? Good. Gee, where's the Ronbo? Usually he's the first one in the door. Well, Rudy beat Ronbo here. There he is. There's the Ronbo. Well, I guess we can get started. Broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV. And I'm the Grumpy Old Man, and we are presented by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow. Oh, before you got here, Ron, I was telling Kathy, coming back from the store, man, oh, I'm coming down the street, and all of a sudden, this goddamn car door flies open in front of me. Good thing I have a new master cylinder, a new power booster, and new brakes on all four wheels. Because I'll tell you what, I stopped about that far from the edge of that goddamn door. And the goddamn asshole young girl, I think she shit and pissed herself. Got a goddamn SUV with mirrors on it about this goddamn big, and we don't look out the mirror. You know, we just fling the door open. So I must have sat there for a good 5 minutes because I could not believe I didn't hit that door. And she's sitting there crying. I finally got out and I said, "What the fuck you crying for?" "Oh, you scared me." I said, "I scared you?" And then I said, "Now, you just stay there a minute." I backed up the car, and I said, "Step out a minute." I closed the door, and I said, "What the fuck are these big things? What are these? Mirrors?" I said, "And what are you supposed to do with that mirror?" Look in it." Bingo! What should we do now? I said, well, I didn't hit the door. I said, you can go in the house and change your underwear. Then I'm going to go home and change mine. Oh, that's all I would have needed. That is all I would have needed to hit that fucking car. Yeah, I'm chancing driving that fucking Passat until January. And that would have totally fucked me over. Because, police would have showed up. Can I see your registration? I don't have any. Well, why not? I don't own this car. Well, why are your license plates on it? Oh, fictitious plates. Oh, I guess we'll be calling a tow truck to impound it. And, I wish people knew how to judge distance. They buy these big honking SUVs, and then they drive down the middle of the street, and when they see somebody in front, you think they'll get over? Christ, I'm just about ready to take paint off the car next to me, and they're blowing the horn at me. Like, you got 2.5 feet, get over. Oh my God. Good thing I was paying attention. Because had I been looking to the left or looking down when that door came open in front of me, I'd have folded that door right up against the fender. She just whipped it open. Just, not slowly open the door, just whoop. And then the neighbor across the street is like, what are you yelling at her for? I said, did you see what happened? No. I said, then get the fuck back in your house. Oh, I'll tell you what. She was as white as a sheet. She was as white as a sheet. The blood drained right from her face, and she couldn't move. And it's not the first time this shit's happened. People they don't look. They just open the door. Had I been driving the shitbox, I'd have taken the door off the car. Christ, the right front of it's all smashed in anyway. I'd have just plowed right through it and went, oh, sorry. Did you need that door? I guess not. Oh, had I had the shitbox, I would have. I'd have folded that door right up against the front fender. She was parked on the street. I was heading up the street, and there's parking on the right side. And as I was coming up the street, she just opened the door right in front of me. And that's part of the problem. And living here, Kathy, you know, in the older neighborhoods, the streets aren't made for big SUVs to be parked on the street and then two-lane traffic. I mean, these streets were built from cars back in, the late 30s, early 40s. Because if you drive down newer developments, the streets are actually wider. But old Cleveland City, well, any old neighborhood, the streets are built for smaller cars. God, they even had problems back in the 50s when, goddamn Cadillacs were the size of Sherman tanks. And now, everything's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, perfect example. Look at the size of your two F-150s. Your newer one is bigger than your older one. I mean, if you take a new F-150 and you put it next to a 1950 Ford F-150, the 1950 looks like a Ford Ranger compared to the new F-150. They've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the streets haven't gotten bigger. So you take and you park an SUV on the street, and then you have an SUV coming down the other side of the street. Somebody has to give, because you're not going to get between them two vehicles. But I was just, I don't think I was doing 20 miles an hour, because there were some kids playing in the street as I was, coming up the street. So I slowed down, and then all of a sudden, this door comes out in front of me. I mean, perfect example, Kathy. In that picture, you have your two F-150s parked side by side. Look how much bigger your newer one is versus your grandson's truck. And even that one's big. If you were to park that one next to an F-150 from the 60s, and the Ford Rangers, today's Ford Ranger is about the size of an F-150 from the 60s. That's how big the Rangers have gotten. I actually had the front runner to the Ford Ranger. It was a Ford Courier, and it was imported from England. It was called the Courier. What I wouldn't give to have that car today, that little pickup truck. And then when they introduced the Ranger, it was actually bigger than the Courier. Not by a hell of a lot, but a noticeable difference. You know, if I take my Nissan and park it next to an older version Ranger, it's amazing how much bigger if I take, all right, perfect example. My Nissan's a 97. If I park it next to a 97 Ranger, the Ranger is bigger than my Nissan. I mean, everything is growing. Over the years, bigger, bigger, bigger. Does your grandson drive yet? Because I'll tell you what, if he doesn't have his license yet, I would teach him to drive in your truck. Because that way, when he gets into his truck, he'll really be comfortable because his truck will be smaller than yours. Of course, that's kind of scary, teaching someone to drive in, a newer F-150. But that's what I would do. I would teach him in the new one. Oh, then he's got. When do they get their learner's permits? 15 or 16? He's learning in your truck. Good. Because when he gets that truck given to him, he will be amazed at how much smaller that truck is. And he'll be able to handle it better because he'll be used to driving the big honkin' mobile. 16. Yeah, see, I think all states are like that. When I got my learner's permit, I got it at 15. And then Ohio changed the law to 16. But I had my temporary at 15. And then I think 2 days after my 16th birthday, I was right at taking a driver's test in a Volkswagen Beetle. Matter of fact, the examiner was quite impressed that I was driving a manual. Oh, bus driver Cathy, the driving instructor. Well, if anybody is going to know all the laws and teach them to drive properly, it's a school bus driver. They learned the right way, because I am absolutely positive you were rough on them all. You didn't come to a dead stop at that stop sign. Okay. Stop at the railroad tracks, look both ways. Listen for a train horn. make sure you stop at least, well, if there's no gates, you're supposed to stop at least 6 feet before the rails. Well, then I could see why you were the teacher. Yeah, if they were all, oh, nothing worse than a bad driver teaching somebody how to drive. You know, people don't realize, wait, what the hell happened here? The microphone all of a sudden went kind of, are we all right? All of a sudden, my headphones got a little quiet. Yeah, people don't realize that you're supposed to stop at least 6 feet from the railroad tracks. That's why if you, the gates are always 6 feet from the railroad tracks. You now, Kathy, you would know why. You you would know why you have to be at least 6 feet from the tracks. Let's see if Ron or Rudy knows why you have to be at least 6 feet from the tracks. Nobody knows why you have to be at least 6 feet from the tracks. Because if you get a train that is doing 50, 60, or 70 miles an hour, as the train goes by, there's a vacuum. And it will actually pull you into the train. Well, the gates are six foot, but there's a 6 foot rule that people don't know about. That's why there were so many wrecks back in the country when there was just a sign that said railroad crossing, and people would, Christ, they would almost be up to the tracks. And then a goddamn Amtrak had come through or a freight train coming through at 60 miles an hour, and the vacuum that train creates would suck the vehicle into the train. It's proven physics. Yeah, and mainly because a lot of the cars have ladders that hang down below the car. And that ladder is right about fender level. Yep. People don't know that. I found that out because a friend of mine was a engineer for Conrail. I got a I got a tour inside a train engine, but I could never get a ride. I always wanted to take a ride in the engine, but I got a tour. I got to sit there, blow the horn. even got to play with the the dead man control. You know what a dead man control is? Nobody knows what the dead man control is? The dead man control is the throttle. Right. Well, the dead man control is the throttle. And if pressure comes off that throttle, it throws the train into emergency and locks up all the brakes. Because back in the day, they just had a lever. And then if an engineer happened to have a medical emergency, the train was just highballing along. So you actually have to have your hand on the throttle, and the throttle has to be pushed down. As soon as pressure comes off the throttle, it throws the train into emergency. So, like my buddy said, if when your right hand gets tired, you put your left hand on and slowly slide your right hand out, because you don't want that throttle to kick up. Otherwise, you got a lot of splaining to do. Because once a train locks up, all them brakes have to cool before that train can start again. It's like a jet on the runway. If they abort takeoff and slam on the brakes, they have to sit for at least half an hour so that the brakes cool down so that they can take off again. If they can take off. You know, there's got to be a reason for the aborted takeoff. But a plane has to literally sit for at least 30 minutes. And then the fire department comes out with infrared thermometers, and they check all the brakes, and if the brakes are below a certain temperature, they're like, okay, you're good to go. You know, Kathy, I would I was kind of oh depressed because the inside of a train engine is like nothing. You got a big windshield. There's a control panel where the engineer sits, and then the co-engineer, or what they used to call the fireman, you know, he sits in a buddy seat on the other side, and I mean, no glitter, no glitz. It was actually boring. I'm like, this is it? You spend 8 hours a day in this? I mean, there's a bathroom behind the engineer, but I was thinking like nice tile floor, you know, maybe wood grain dash, plain bare metal panels, gauges, boring. I don't know what I was expecting, but when I got up in there, I was like, "This is it." My buddy's like, "Oh, you want to sit in the engineer's seat?" Yeah, okay. All you do is sit here and hang out the window, and he goes, "That's it. Watch the gauges. Nothing fancy inside of a freight engine." Now, he tells me an Amtrak engine, oh, they're laid out. But a regular freight engine, pfft, plain vanilla, nothing fancy. And everybody thinks you pull a lever to blow the horn. There's a knob that hangs down and you push on it. It's mounted on it's on a little swivel. There's no like in a truck. You push on the knob. Because I was looking around, he goes, where's the lanyard? He goes, it's that knob right there. Push it. Oh. Very boring. Very boring inside of a freight engine. I mean, I appreciated the tour. He took me back, he opened the panels up, showed me the big honking diesel engine, you know. But nothing fancy. I think the bathroom had better fixtures than the goddamn control panels. Pardon me, I got an aardvark in my throat. I looked out today. They had more sweet potato pies. So I bought another one. But boy, I'll tell you what, those pecan pies, oh God. They look delicious. I ended up wasting most of it. I'm going to have to go up to Gigantic Eaglet Bakery and ask them if they can make me a special pecan pie with ground pecans. The baker will look at me like, what? You never had sweet potato pie? Oh, you don't know what you're missing, Rudy. And it's made from sweet potatoes, not pumpkin. I bet you Kathy's had many sweet potato pies. Oh, Ron is hooked on his lemon meringue pies. I can't eat pecan pie. I have no teeth. That's why I have to get one with ground pecans if they'll make me one. Oh, Kathy, I knew because you're down in sweet potato pie heaven. Them people, they go sweet potato pie 5-1 over pumpkin. I'll tell you what, the first time I had a slice of sweet potato pie, I was hooked. And it went back to the days when I was working for the county in the title bureau. And after Thanksgiving, all the black women brought in leftovers. And they offered them to whoever wanted to try, their style of macaroni and cheese. And I walked over to the pie and I was like, oh, a pumpkin pie. Cleopatra was her name. Cleo said, pumpkin? That's sweet potato pie. I was like, oh, I'll pass. Then she dished out a slice and just about put it in my face. Try it. Ooh. I finished that goddamn piece of pie so fast it disappeared. And I'll tell you what. You can buy any macaroni cheese on the market. Nobody makes macaroni and cheese like black women do. Oh, because it's a recipe that has been passed down from great grandma all the way down. That's one thing. My old neighbor, I always tell her, I know you're having macaroni and cheese. I want some. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop the next time I see her. And I can guarantee the day after Thanksgiving, or maybe even Thanksgiving evening, she'll bring me a big bowl of homemade macaroni and cheese. But Ron, the pie does not really taste like sweet potatoes. It actually tastes like a really sweet pumpkin. The taste of it is it's hard to describe, but it's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I no longer eat pumpkin pie unless, I'm at somebody's house and they offer me a piece, but I don't buy them anymore. I got hooked on that sweet potato pie, and believe me, every year, that's what I get. And I had one, and I made a pig out of myself, and I ate it all. So today I got another one. I should have got a couple because after Thanksgiving, there won't be any more. They won't bring any in. Yeah, when my neighbor makes her mac and cheese, oh my God. It's to die for. And all from scratch. I asked her for the recipe once and she went, I don't think so. Family secret. Yeah, I walked over they had a big table in the aisle. full of pies, and I'm looking at it. Okay, pecan, 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 pumpkin, apple, apple, apple crumb topping, sweet potato. In the basket it went. I should have bought an apple pie. I love it with that crumb topping on it. Well, Kathy, I'm not a big mac and cheese eater, but when Tanya makes it, oh, I want a big bowl. It is just delicious. I'm trying to think what I'm going to make for Thanksgiving. I was thinking of stuffing a Cornish hen, but maybe I'll get a turkey breast. I'll get a nice turkey breast and I'll make some stuffing. Now, bake it in the oven. Get me a couple of sweet potatoes. Cook them up. Mash them. A lot of butter. Little bit of whipping cream. Oh, God, there's nothing better than mashed sweet potatoes with butter and whipping cream. Not half and half or coffee cream, whipping cream. It just gives it a little more body. And then while I'm eating it, I can feel my arteries clogging. Ron's making reservations. Well, at least you'll have a nice Thanksgiving meal, Ron, with all the fixins. Where you going, Ron? A nice restaurant that does Thanksgiving with all the fixins? A friend of mine goes to Bob Evans for Thanksgiving. He said they do a pretty decent Thanksgiving meal. Chinese? Well, that's different. Although I haven't had Chinese in, God, about a year. I'm going to have to order some takeout now. Get me some egg foo young. I love egg foo young. Oh, God, do. Oh. Get me some egg foo young and some pea pods and I don't know whether I have chop suey or egg foo young. Or order some General Tso's chicken. Oh. Now we don't have them here. No Panda Express around here. I've got a Chinese restaurant that's been in business, owned by the same family since 1969. Matter of fact, I remember going into the restaurant when his daughters were like 4 and 5 years old, and they'd be clearing the tables and putting fresh tablecloths on. And now the 3 daughters own the place because Dad retired. And he told them, "You don't change a thing. I have a reputation here. And it tastes the same today as it did in 1969 when it opened." As a matter of fact, the last time I was there, which was about a year ago, the daughter told me the cooks are third generation. I don't know if we have P.F. Chang's anymore, Kathy. You know, when they first opened, they were big. I don't know if there's one around here anymore. I haven't heard the name P.F. Chang in years. I remember when they first opened, geez. You couldn't get a reservation for like 6 months. But I don't know if there's one around anymore. I just wonder if that Ruth Chris Steakhouse is still, I think it's in Mayfield. I haven't heard that name in ages, too. Now, Morton's is in the Ritz Carlton, so they're still going strong, but Ruth Chris Steakhouse, I haven't heard that one mentioned in ages, and P.F. Chang, I haven't heard that name in 10 years easy. But my little Dragon Towers restaurant up at Cam's Corners, that's for me. Especially considering, the cooks are third generation and Daddy's 3 girls are now running it. Boy, that makes me feel old. I remember seeing them when Mom was holding them in her arms. Now I walk in and they're like, all grown up. Because I asked the one daughter, I said, "Are you and your sisters?" I said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "All 3 of us are running the restaurant." And that's when she told me our cooks are third generation, so the food is the same. And it is. And you still get nice portions. Oh, that's too far for me to drive. You got to remember, I got an illegal car. I'll have to go there after January. Well, after the snow. Yeah, that's the snow belt out there. Not to mention those idiots, they change tires at 70 miles an hour out there. Yeah, I'll go sometime next year. Now that I know there's one still here. I haven't, honestly, I haven't heard P.F. Chang mentioned easily in 10 years. Easily. Well, you lived on that side of town, Kathy. You know there are idiots out there. Christ, ever since they opened that express lane on 271, people are doing like 150 miles an hour down there. Them people are insane on that end of town. I don't think anybody knows what a speed limit is out on 271 and 480 in that area. Christ, I hate getting on the freeway, getting on 71 and going down to 25th Street. And 71 don't have that much traffic anymore. It's all up on I-90 now. God, KFC, I haven't had KFC in years. Matter of fact, it's got to be easily 20 years because the KFC that was up on 130th, close to Brook Park Road, they closed that one. The only one we got left now is in Lakewood. And I ain't driving into Lakewood until after January. Yeah, Christ, there used to be 4 KFCs right in this area. They closed 3 of them. And then they built a Popeye's chicken up the street. God, that Popeye's chicken been there over 5 years and I've never been in it. I'll have to try them one day. I don't know anybody that's ever been in there. I hate going in being a guinea pig. Yeah, it's been easily 20 years since I had KFC chicken. Now, when the one was down the road, hell, I'd go in there at least once a week. The reason they closed the one up the road from me was due to the place getting held up so many times. The goddamn thieves would be watching Friday night how busy it would be when the bars closed. And then they'd come in and rob the place. So they went, that's it, close it down. Of course, that's why they closed the Goodwill up that was up the street from me. Too much theft. Can you believe me? Believe it? Stealing from Goodwill. The theft got so bad that Goodwill closed the place up, lock, stock, and barrel. Right. Now there's some senior medical clinic in there. Every time I walk past the place, the girl's like, come on in and sign up. I said, my insurance won't cover you guys. I don't know, Rudy, but the theft got so bad they closed the place up. One day it was there, next day it was gone. They emptied that store in 2 days. They said, we're out of here. The only one now is out North Olmsted, and I'm not going to drive out there either. I really don't need anything from Goodwill anyway. I got 2 closets full of clothes. I have enough t-shirts to last me a lifetime. Well, I could use some more silverware. Yeah, I'll just buy some cheap Dollar Tree silverware. It'll work for me. The only place that really hasn't got held up is Little Caesar's Pizza and Subway. And today it surprised me. Sunday, when did I go to Mark's? 4:00. There was a goddamn line in Subway. Surprised the hell out of me. I was like, whoa, you guys giving something away for free? And then as I exited the plaza, I drove past Little Caesars, and man, there were cars parked out front, people waiting for pizza. There must have been 20 people inside. I was like, man, you're doing a hell of a business. But I couldn't believe how many people were in Subway at 4:00 on a Sunday afternoon. And then I looked across the street at Mr. Hero, and he had a bunch of people. I was like, God, nobody eats at home anymore. I don't think there were any exciting football games on today. The people wouldn't be cooking, but all the fast food places were crowded. Well, I didn't go past Wendy's or McDonald's, but it was kind of nice to see a crowd in Subway. Although that Subway has been there, God, 20, 25 years. Yeah, it's got to be over 20 years now. So he must be making money. Yeah, I go to Pizza Hut now and then. When they have a special. Like if they have $3 or $4 off on a meat lover's pizza, I'll order one. Otherwise, I go to Marco's. I love Marco's pizza. Especially their deluxe. Fresh cut green pepper, fresh sliced onion, fresh sliced mushrooms. All the veggies are all fresh sliced. Nothing out of a can or out of a bag. That's why I like Marco's. Nothing worse than getting a pizza that has canned mushrooms. I want mine fresh. And Marco's, they run a lot of, at least twice a month, specialty pizzas, $3 off, $4 off. Tonight, gourmet dogs again. With a little mom and pop pizza shop. Oh, sometimes those are the best, Kathy. Sometimes you get some killer pizza from a little mom and pop. Really? Oh, how very nice of him. That's very kind. Not many places, you know, especially a mom and pop place. Think of, the homeless and the hungry. Very nice of him. Very nice of him. I would definitely buy my pizza there just for that reason. But I'm sure it's good pizza. That is amazing for a little mom and pop operation because they're working on a real tight profit ratio. Good for him. I'd order one delivered, but it'd be ice cold by the time it got here. Fantastic. There's a guy that basically deserves as much business as people can give him because that is a rarity today. That is a rarity. A nice family run operation. Wonderful. He deserves a lot of business. He really does. I hope his name is well known in the community. Because, like I say, they're working on a real close, profit ratio. You can't afford to give shit away. That's amazing. That really is. I hope he's doing well. And I hope he continues to do well in the future. He must be a very religious person to have that kind of attitude. Good for him. Really? Wow, you got some amazing businesses down there. A pizza bus. Oh, that's got to be even cooler. A traveling pizza shop. A pizza shop on wheels. Coming to a neighborhood near you. Good. He stays busy. Good. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Because I would guarantee a lot of his customers do business with him for that reason. Because, it's sad to be homeless and hungry and not have money for, a meal. That's why, I was happy to read about Olive Garden, donating to the homeless shelters and that. People should not be hungry in America. It's sad. It is so sad. The food that this country produces and people are hungry, that is sad. God, I would never want to be in that position. Not knowing where my next meal's going to come from. And the sad thing is when you see homeless people raiding dumpsters just so they could get something to eat. You know, we had a little mom and pop bakery. Unfortunately, COVID killed them. But at the end of the day, they would take everything that wasn't sold and box it up, and they had a little alcove behind the bakery. It was covered, and they had a table back in the corner, and everything that was left over, they would box up and put in that little alcove, and all the homeless people could at least get donuts or whatever they baked, cakes, you know. But then, damn COVID killed them. They couldn't survive. They ended up closing up. And it's sad because, man, that bakery had been in the family for 3 generations. But you know, all of these mom and pop operations are working on a real tight profit ratio. Because you know, when COVID hit, every business had to put up plexiglass barriers, and they just couldn't afford all that. The interesting thing is, Mark still has them at the registers. They still have the plexiglass. And every now and then, some of the workers will be wearing masks to this day. Although I should start wearing mine because they said a new strain of COVID is going around. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are we ever going to get rid of that shit? And they're saying for this new strain, they don't have a vaccine. I should actually, because I have low resistance the way it is. God, I tell you what, I religiously wore, even when they said you could stop, I probably went an additional 6 months. I have masks in the truck. I don't have any masks in the Passat. But I wore them religiously no matter where I went. I guess maybe it's time to dig them back out. Either that or wear my gator. Still in the package. Still hanging the hook in the studio. You know, Kathy, you would gag if you saw the amount of food the hospital threw out every night. They would take serving trays full and empty them in the dumpster. It was disgusting. But see, they used to take all the food left over at night and give it to a homeless shelter. And supposedly, someone got sick and sued the hospital, and they went, that's it, throw it all out. Yeah, some greedy bastard. Oh, I got sick from that food. Well, it was probably bullshit, because if he got sick from the food, he'd have gone to the hospital to get taken care of. But that's all it took. And the president of the hospital said, throw it away. And it was sad. Oh, I mean, trays and trays and, you know what the size of a goddamn cafeteria serving pan is? Whatever was left over, dump it. I never liked carrying a backpack. I would have Tupperware containers. And I would go back in the kitchen, help myself. I'm like, hey, you're throwing it away. Especially like on the nights we had stuffed cabbage. Oh, I'd be filling Tupperware containers to the point I could barely zip the backpack. Or lasagna. Anything, really. God, I used to have a couple of big Coleman thermoses. If they made like lobster bisque soup, my refrigerator was always full to the brim. I had a good selection of meals. And then about a month before I went out on disability, the new head of the department said, no one's allowed to take food home. I'm like, you're throwing it in the dumpster. Well, you're not allowed to take any. And then he would search people's backpacks as they were leaving. And if you got caught with any food, you got suspended for a week without pay. I'm thinking to myself, you're throwing it in the garbage and you won't let an employee take it home to eat? Nope. Oh, he was an asshole. Thank God I went out on disability. Oh, man. I'd have gotten fired. Him and I got in each other's faces several times over the span of 2 months. But he couldn't do anything because I was leaving anyway. I was just waiting for my paperwork from the hospital to go through. Because he tried firing me, and I said, I'm already on my way out. And I haven't finished training my replacement. So either I finish training him and leave on the day I'm supposed to go, or you train him. Finish training him then. And I'd go back by the dumpster and I'd be yelling back into the kitchen, "Oh man, look at the food you guys threw out," just to piss him off. Yeah, Kathy, that's the biggest waste in America. Food. And then, Jesus Christ, Mr. Big Hair said, "Oh, well, prices are going down." Where? Not in any of the stores I shop in. I haven't seen a price reduction in anything. He is so full of it. What the hell does he care? He's a goddamn multi-millionaire. He was like, "Well, I don't take a paycheck." Well, shit. What a president makes a year, he's spent in a day. What the hell's he? I'm not taking a paycheck. We're supposed to thank him. Now there's word I heard that he is going to take all Democratic presidents' pictures out of the main lobby and hang them like in back rooms. Olive Garden restaurants takes all of the unserved food at night when they close and they ship it to homeless shelters. They're the only restaurant that's doing it right now. Rather than throw it away, anything made that day that doesn't get served, they send to homeless shelters. And that's across the United States. All Olive Gardens. Anything that doesn't get served immediately gets packaged and shipped to a homeless shelter. More restaurants should do that because restaurants waste so much food. I don't know how the homeless shelters are surviving. I really don't. Because there's more, and sadly, there's more and more homeless every day. God, just take a look at the frickin' tent villages in California. And it's sad because California kind of turns a blind eye, but then they fill the streets with garbage and gee, if you're allowed to pitch a tent on some back alley street, don't make a mess. Put your stuff in garbage cans. Don't just throw it in the street. Same thing with what? Seattle, Washington, same way. Unless people are creating a problem, Seattle kind of looks the other way. God, that'd be the last place I'd go if I was homeless. I'd go to like Florida. I want to go somewhere where it's warm. If I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to be homeless in a nice warm state. Not go out to Seattle, Washington. I'd have to have 47 space heaters in a tent. I don't know how they do it. I remember camping with the Boy Scouts. We did a winter camp out once, and holy shit, I had like 3 sleeping bags, and I was still freezing my balls off. And we had a small potbelly stove in the tent. We had a military tent. All states have homeless. Shit, they're everywhere, Rudy. More and more people are losing their homes and can't afford apartments, and government benefits getting cut left and right. God, I read the other day where a medical center that basically took care of seniors, either in Vermont or Rhode Island, had to close up because their federal funding is all gone. Fucking Trump cutting everybody's funding. That's because he's always had the lavish life. Maybe he should sleep in a fucking tent on the street for a couple of months. In December, in the snow. God, I got a big letter from Metro Hospital stating that they had to make a lot of major cuts because the federal money is run out. They already ended the fucking van service. No more free patient transport. All them people out of jobs. They had to get rid of all the vans that they use for patient transport. Now if you need to be transported, they send you a lift. Because it's way cheaper than having their own equipment. I couldn't believe it when I called the transportation department. She said, well, we're using Lyft now because it's cheaper. I remember that lift when I had no transportation whatsoever. Both my vehicles were broke down. And the Lyft driver told me all he was making was $7 for that trip. Christ, I told him a cab driver would make more. $7, that's all he was getting to take me from my house to Parma and from Parma to back. $7 a trip. And my buddy emailed me, the one with the big honkin' frickin' motorhome. He's down in Sarasota, Florida right now. He'll be down there for, I think he said another week. And then he's going to start heading west along the coast. Christ, that motorhome is outfitted better than his house. Jesus. He says to him, I says, boy, you really roughing it. Yeah, his motorhome's got them. The living room slides out. And then the bedroom in the back has two slide outs. Big screen TVs, microwave, dishwasher, washer and dryer, oven. Well, it's got a big generator in it, plus it's got solar panels on the roof, and big batteries underneath. And he can either plug in, run his generator, or run his motorhome off of solar power. $360,000 for that honkin' bus up Provost with a big honkin' V8 diesel in it. 8V71. No, it's a 8V92. Got the bigger diesel, 8V92. Big honkin' turbo that's as big as the engine in my Passat. Man, he opened the back of that thing up. I was like, holy shit. All I saw was motor. And a radiator that's bigger than my Passat. He goes, you want to see the engine compartment? I was like, yeah. Jesus Christ. What do you get, about 4 miles to the gallon? He said, about 6. 6 miles to the gallon, if he's lucky. I can't remember how much diesel I think he's got a 150-gallon diesel tank. Imagine filling that thing up at $4 a gallon. Oy, 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 oy. Well, like I mentioned, he had new brakes, two brand new front steer tires, Michelin's, had an oil change, and had a transmission flush. $25,000. I was like, good thing you got money, buddy. That is an expensive thing to run. Christ, I cry when I have to fill up, What do you mean $25? Look at the pump and it says $462.38. Oh, for a fill up. And you're only getting maybe 6 miles to the gallon. Eesh. Although he said he made good time going down to Florida. Of course, him and his wife, they swap seats. He'll drive for 8 hours and go in the back and go to bed, and his wife, she'll be driving for 6, 7 hours. Of course, it helps, his wife drove school bus for years, so driving that big motorhome is a piece of cake. But man, I could not believe the layout in that thing. Oh my God. Absolutely gorgeous. I guess if you're going to retire, that's the way to do it. Buy a big honking Provost motorhome and tour the country. Although next year, he told me that they're leaving, instead of in the end of October, they're going to leave in August. And they're going to Alaska. They've never been to Alaska. And the amazing thing is, they've been to all 49 states. Because when they went to Hawaii, they rented a motorhome. They toured the Big Island in a rented motorhome and then flew home. Where did they? They drove cross country to Los Angeles. And then they found a motorhome parking lot. They parked their motorhome, flew to Hawaii, rented a motorhome, toured the Big Island, flew home, got in their motorhome, yeah, Kathy, they said that is the only state they haven't been in. And if they go in August, I guess the weather is like in the 60s, wherever they're going to go. Because he said they have to go up through Canada to get into Alaska. And when you cross the border in one of them motorhomes, he said they searched that thing from front to back, top to bottom. And then there's, I can't remember the name of the turnpike, I'll call it, or in order to get into Alaska. And then they'll be in Alaska for a month. They got the trip all planned out already. Everything. You know, I would love to tour like Georgia, Louisiana. I would love to go to Mardi Gras. Just, of course, I'm too fucking old now, but I would love to go on to one. My niece went. Her and three of her girlfriends went for Mardi Gras one year. She brought me back some beads. They're somewhere around here. Matter of fact, she told me the way you get beads. You know how you get beads, don't you, Kathy? When she told me, I says, I hope you didn't tell your mother and father. She was, oh, no, 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 no. Although, if you ever watch a documentary on Mardi Gras, I'm sure that my aunt and uncle would know how their daughter got all them beads. Because she, I'll say it politely, in her upper region was quite healthy. Oh, she came home with it, but must have had a case of fucking beads. I was like, oh, Cynthia, you didn't. She went, yep, I did. The guys would be yelling from the street, show off. Oh, my uncle would have killed her. Oh, my. And I mean, Cynthia was in her mid-20s. My uncle still would have killed her. She came back from Mardi Gras and she'd go, look at all the beads, you know. I asked her, I said, did you perform a service to get them beads? And she went, yep. Yep, right, Kathy. Oh, she thought it was hilarious. I said, you didn't. She went, yes, I did. How do you think I got all these beads? Her, as a matter of fact, all four of the girls were rather healthy in that department. And they all came home with a fucking case of beads. Standing on a balcony in their hotel. All right, Rudy. Have a good one. I'm going to have some coffee. And you know, Kathy, the hilarious thing, I knew all four of her friends, or all three of her friends. And what was her name? Shayna. Shayna was the shyest girl you ever wanted to meet. This girl was so shy, it took forever for her to look you in the eye. And I said, Cynthia, what about Shayna? She goes, oh yeah, her too. I was like, what? Matter of fact, she was named the shyest girl in high school when she graduated. I said, well, I guess a little alcohol must have helped. All four of them. You want beads? Matter of fact, the one Sunday I was over at my aunt and uncle's for dinner, and Cynthia had her three friends, and I happened to be sitting next to Shayna, and I turned to her and I whispered, I heard how you got all them Mardi Gras beads. And she turned as red as a beet. Put her head down. Wouldn't look at me the rest of dinner. Yeah, I just whispered in her ear. I heard how you got all them Mardi Gras beads. Instantly red. I really wanted to say to her, I have some Mardi Gras beads. She'd have probably went, keep them. Of course, like Cynthia said, they did have some adult beverages before they were out on the balcony. I guess that loosened Shayna up quite a bit. Oh, Kathy, you would instantly. I never saw a girl turn red so fast in my life. As soon as I said beads, and she looked at her plate and would not look at me the rest of dinner. And my uncle was sitting at the end of the table going, what's with Shayna? I said, I don't know. She wouldn't look up. And she was named at graduation the shyest girl in their class. I guess alcohol works wonders. Really? At your age? Oh my God, Kathy. I guess that's a good thing. You're still young at heart. Good for you. Like I say, you're still young at heart. That's good. Me, I got no modesty whatsoever anymore. Of course, who the hell wants to see me? Yeah. I get up in the morning. I stumble out of the bedroom into the kitchen in my boxer shorts to make coffee, open the, put the shades up. Of course, Mary Ann's got the Berlin Wall over there now, so she can't see anything. I don't care if somebody sees me. That's why I wear boxer briefs. They look like shorts. Actually, I'll tell you, no modesty here. I used to always wear what they call tighty whities, And I ordered, there was men's underwear on sale. Where the hell did I? Well, don't make it. I don't mind. Whatever. I placed an order, and they accidentally shipped me 12 pair of the boxer briefs, and I was like, "Oh Jesus!" I was too lazy to send them back. And actually, I'm glad they made the mistake. They are quite more comfortable. And I've been like 20 years now. I love them. Hanes. Matter of fact, I recently ordered some more. Because the other ones were getting a little worn. That's one thing. And I know you can't donate them. I hate throwing decent. They weren't torn and full of holes. They were just, the elastic was starting to give. I hate throwing clothing away. Now, you can't donate it. Goodwill nobody wants it. But it just, I hated bagging them up and throwing them away. I was like, God, what a waste. Some homeless person would have thought, holy shit, look at this, I got underwear. That's the only thing that really gets me. Because you can donate shirts and slacks and, clothing, jackets. Nobody wants socks or underwear. And I feel it's so wasteful throwing it out. My hand goes in the trash can. Come on, let go already. Stand there looking in the can. Oh. My buddy's wife said, well, you could use them for cleaning cloths. Yeah. There's something about washing windows with my underwear. No, I don't think so. Get out, wash the car with your boxer. What are you washing the car with? My underwear. Nope. I draw the line there, in the garbage. She takes and cuts her husband's underwear up and his t-shirts and for cleaning rags. Not me. I can't see washing the car and then wringing them out. Oh, good for a couple more washings. The neighbors are like, holy shit, what's with you? Jesus. I hope you're not commando. No, I have new ones on. Thank you. Yeah, wash the car. Are you Commando? Well, yeah. How do you think I wash my underwear? Car wash soap. I know I'm a sick son of a bitch. Oh, God. Marianne would keel over. You want me to wash your car? There's still soap in these. I told you the latch on her hatch went bad and I couldn't get it to unlock. She is yet to fix it. She's got a bungee cord holding her hatch shut. I said, Marianne, the part's only like $20. Go up to see Ryan. He'll probably only charge you $10 to put it in. Well, Ron, just think the time you have left will go by fast. And then you will never have to hear that shit again. You'll be cozy in your own four walls and noise free. But they are assholes. Doesn't anybody ever call the police on them? Or is everybody afraid to? Or the police, they don't want to be bothered? I'd call the police and say, hey, I think somebody's getting killed in the apartment above me. They'd be coming lights and siren. And then use your neighbor next door's name and call from a star 69 number. Or a star 67 or whatever. Although they do ask you your goddamn phone number. That's what pisses me off. Give them a phony number. Or if you know your next door neighbor's cell phone number, what's your name? Joe Fabeats. What's your cell phone number? 419-632-7701. There's somebody getting killed above me. Send help, quick. Fucking SWAT team would come out and kick in the door. Everybody assume the position. Who's getting killed here? Your neighbors would be leaving in handcuffs. That is just downright disgusting. They don't have any respect for the people below or next to them. People like that should get evicted. Although I'm sure nobody reports them to management. But you'll be out of there soon, Ron. Time will fly. And then you'll have your own cozy four walls. Well, it's obvious the rental office could care less. They probably look at it, well, they pay the rent, so. But you'll be out of there. Time will fly, Ron. Hell, you're packed up now. Or almost all packed up. It's just, yeah, it's disgusting. You're entitled to your own peace and quiet, you know? It'll go by fast, Ron. At our age, time flies. Shit, I blink my eyes and November's almost over. Just keep thinking peace and quiet, peace and quiet, peace and quiet. It'll go by quick. Before you know it, that moving truck will be outside your door. You'll have the keys to your new place. Have it all to yourself, nice and quiet. Except for when your dog and cat go into heat at the same time. You need a cushion on this. If you notice, the gaming chair is not here. I broke it. Well, it broke. One day I sat down. I was like, what the hell? The shock let go. I bitched to the manufacturer and they're sending me a whole new base. Not just a shock, a whole new base. So as soon as I get it, the gaming chair will be back. But for now, it's over in Studio One, broken. Well, I could sit on it, but my nose would be about desk level. Yeah, I was sitting here one day, all of a sudden, it just let go. So I called Walmart, and Walmart says, well, that's a manufacturer problem. I said, yeah. Well, hold on, we'll give you the number. And I called customer service. I said, hey, this goddamn thing isn't even 6 months old yet, and it's broken. Well, what's wrong with it? I said, the shock let go. I'm on the floor. Hold on. She transferred me to technical support or something. What happened, sir? I said, well, I was sitting at my desk and all of a sudden I was on the floor. Really? Well, that sounds like a defect for sure. Yeah, I would think so. What are you going to do about it? Send me a new shock? No, we're going to send you a complete new base. Really? Yes, sir. Good. I haven't got it yet, but once it gets here, I'll have the gaming chair back. You know, actually, I don't really miss it as much as I thought I would. This big, old, 60-year-old goddamn desk chair is pretty comfy. Well, I think we're going to call it a night here. Wow. I'm all charged up. Unbelievable. Come on. We know where, right here. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And we will meet again tomorrow night. Take care, everybody. See ya.